I woke up to a steel gate blocking my own road and a $300 bill to use it. The gate wasn't there when I went to bed. But at 4:30 on a Thursday morning, when I loaded my truck with lettuce crates for the restaurant run I'd done twice a week for 15 years there, it was 10 feet of powder-coated steel stretched across the only road off my farm, complete with a card reader, a camera, and a sign that said I owed $300 a month to drive on land my grandfather helped pave. They built it overnight. On purpose. They wanted me to find it exactly like this, trapped with a truck full of produce that had to be at downtown Kitchens in 90 minutes, staring at a gate I never agreed to on a road I'd used for 2 decades without anyone's permission, because I didn't need anyone's permission. I'm not going to lie to you, I sat there with my hands on the steering wheel thinking about ramming straight through it. The truck could do it. The gate would crumple. I'd be through in 5 seconds. But that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted me angry. They wanted me stupid. They wanted me to do something that would let them call the cops, press charges, and turn me into the criminal in a story where I was getting robbed in broad daylight. So I took pictures instead. Then I turned around, drove 45 minutes out of my way through back farm roads, and watched 2 restaurant contracts disappear by lunchtime because I couldn't promise reliable delivery anymore. Let me back up and tell you how we got here, because this didn't start with a gate. It started with a clipboard and a woman who treated a volunteer HOA position like she was running a hostile takeover. My name's David Garrett. My family's worked the same 120 acres in Clearbrook County for 4 generations. We grow organic vegetables, run a small dairy operation, supply restaurants and farmers markets within 50 miles. It's honest work, the kind that gets you up before dawn and keeps you moving until the sun goes down. 15 years ago, a developer bought the land next to ours and built Clearbrook Meadows. Nice subdivision, 200 homes, manicured lawns, the whole suburban package. For the first decade, we coexisted just fine. I'd wave at neighbors jogging past. Kids would come see the cows. I'd give them tomatoes in summer. Then Catherine Brennan became HOA president. Mid-50s, sharp blazers, even at weekend meetings, the kind of person who looks at you like you're a problem she's about to solve with the right paperwork. She showed up at my farm on a Tuesday morning in late March with 2 board members I'd never met, carrying a leather portfolio like she was about to present a merger proposal. Good morning, too cheerful for 6:30 a.m. I'm Catherine Brennan, HOA president. Do you have a moment? I wiped dirt off my hands. Sure. What's going on? We've been receiving complaints about noise and traffic from your operation. Heavy trucks before 7 machinery late into the evening. It's disrupting the peaceful enjoyment of our residents' properties. I felt my stomach drop, but I kept my voice level. Ma'am, I've been running this farm the exact same way for 20 years. Your neighborhood's been here 15. This isn't new. She smiled. Didn't reach her eyes. The community is evolving. We're implementing new area standards. She opened the portfolio. We're requesting that commercial vehicle traffic be restricted to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Weekdays only. I stared at her. You understand, I run a farm, right? Produce doesn't wait for business hours. My restaurant deliveries happen before breakfast service. Dairy pickups are at dawn. I understand that's inconvenient, she said, and I swear there was the tiniest smirk. But we have to consider the greater good. One of the guys behind her added, there are also road safety concerns with those heavy trucks. On a road that existed 50 years before your houses, I said slowly. My grandfather helped pay to pave that road in the 70s. Catherine closed her portfolio with a soft snap. I'm sure we can find a compromise. Review these guidelines and we'll schedule a meeting. She handed me a 10-page packet and left before I could respond. That night, reading through their guidelines, the message was crystal clear. They wanted to make it impossible for me to operate. Restricted hours. Vehicle weight limits. Requirements for visual screening of equipment. Mandatory 48-hour advance notice for any non-routine agricultural activities. I called my daughter Ellie. She was finishing her engineering degree at State Sharp with details good head for bureaucratic nonsense. "Dad, this is insane," she said after I read her the highlights. "You're not part of their HOA. They can't just impose restrictions on your property." That's what I thought. Don't agree to anything. Let me research this. But they weren't waiting for my agreement. That's when I found the gate. Thursday morning, blocking the farm road where it met their development. And that sign, Private Road, Clearbrook Meadows, residents only. The phone number connected to a recording, "You have reached Access Management LLC. Obtain a temporary access pass at our website by paying the monthly access fee. $300. Every month. To use a road that had been there since before most of their parents were born. Here's what that $300 actually meant. I could technically afford it, but it would gut my margins. Add it to equipment maintenance, feed costs, insurance, and suddenly I'm working 80-hour weeks to break even. And for what to pay people who just moved here for permission to access land my great-grandfather cleared with his own hands, but the money wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the precedent. If I paid, I'd be admitting they had the right to charge me. And if they had that right, what else could they charge for? What other rules could they invent? I took the long way to my deliveries that morning. 45 extra minutes through county back roads. Made me late to 3 restaurants. By noon, 2 of them had called to cancel contracts. Both managers were apologetic but firm they needed reliability. If I couldn't guarantee morning delivery times, they'd go elsewhere. 20 years of relationship building, gone, because of a gate that appeared overnight. When I got back to the farm, there was a letter in my mailbox. Official HOA letterhead, Catherine's signature. Professionally worded, full of phrases like mutual cooperation and community standards. The substance was simple. The road was now managed by their contracted security company. If I wanted access, I needed to apply for a commercial permit and pay the monthly fee. The letter ended with, "We look forward to working with you to find a solution that benefits all parties." I didn't sleep that night. Could I pay technically? Could I reroute everything maybe, but it would kill my business? Could I fight how I wasn't a lawyer? I was a farmer who knew how to grow tomatoes and fix tractor engines, not navigate legal battles against an HOA with pooled resources and professional attorneys. Ellie called back the next morning, and her voice had that edge it gets when she's found something important. "Dad, you need to get copies of the original property surveys and county road records. I think that road might be on a public right-of-way." What does that mean? It means they can't gate it. It means this whole thing might be illegal. That word illegal hit different than I expected. Not relieved. Not yet. But something else. Like, maybe I wasn't crazy for thinking this was wrong. I spent the next week becoming an amateur expert in property law. I drove to the county clerk's office and requested every document related to that road. The original survey from 1963, the easement agreement from 1976, when the county agreed to maintain the road in exchange for public access rights. Records showing my family had contributed to road improvements in 82 and 94. Every document said the same thing: public right-of-way. The county owned it, maintained it. Anyone could use it. The HOA had no more authority to gate that road than they did to gate the interstate. But here's where things took a turn I didn't expect. While I was digging through county records, the HOA escalated. Suddenly, I was getting visits from code enforcement violations I'd never heard of in 20 years. My equipment shed was too close to the property line. My compost area wasn't properly screened. Signs advertising farm, fresh eggs violated size restrictions. Every violation came with a fine and an unrealistic deadline. It felt coordinated. Deliberate. Then my suppliers started getting calls. Someone from the Clearbrook Community Standards Committee was contacting my feed supplier, my equipment maintenance company, even my insurance agent raising concerns about doing business with my farm. Most ignored it. But a few started asking uncomfortable questions. My insurance agent actually called me, "David, I got a weird call today about safety issues at your farm." What's going on? I had to explain the whole situation, and even then I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. Not because he didn't trust me, but because suddenly there was noise around my business. Perception matters. That's when my old friend Lane stopped by. He ran a small excavation and welding business. We'd known each other since high school. He'd heard through the grapevine what was happening. "I saw that gate," he said, sitting at my kitchen table with a beer. "That's a $15,000 installation. Custom steel electronic readers, concrete footing, security camera with cellular uplink. That's not HOA money. That's investment capital." I hadn't thought about it that way. "What do you mean?" "I mean somebody's planning to make money off this. You're the test case. If they force you to pay, they'll start charging everyone who uses that road." He leaned forward. "Think about it. You've got 3 other commercial farms within a mile, that timber company, the gravel pit operation. They could pull in $5,000–10,000 a month easy." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about noise complaints or community standards. This was a revenue scheme disguised as HOA management. Ellie had been digging too. She called me that Friday evening, and I could hear the excitement in her voice. "Dad, I looked into Access Management LLC. Guess who the registered agent is, who Catherine Brennan's husband? The business address is a P.O. box in the same strip mall as her real estate office. They registered the company 6 months ago. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt something other than pressure. I felt clarity. They hadn't just tried to extort me. They'd created an entire company to do it. This wasn't some gray area HOA overreach. This was fraud. "We need a lawyer," Ellie said. I knew exactly who to call. Grace Holloway had handled my father's estate when he passed. She was semi-retired now, in her 60s, but she had a reputation for not backing down from fights. When I called and explained the situation, there was a long pause. They did what disbelief in her voice. I walked her through everything. "I'll take the case," she said immediately. "Reduced rate." This is exactly the kind of garbage that reminds me why I became a lawyer. I insisted on paying her properly, but she refused anything beyond basic costs. "David, you're fighting something that affects more than just you. Let me help." While Grace prepared our legal strategy, I kept documenting everything. Every gate interaction. Every violation notice. Every supplier call. I started a folder on my computer labeled evidence and dropped everything in there: photos, emails, timelines, receipts for lost business. Grace spent 2 weeks building our case. She pulled every county record, cross-referenced the LLC registration, documented the timeline of events. She was thorough in a way that made me understand why people trusted her. "Here's what we're doing," she explained over coffee at my kitchen table. "We're filing for an emergency temporary restraining order. We'll ask the court to immediately remove the gate and prohibit the HOA from interfering with the public right-of-way. We'll attach all the evidence: surveys, easement agreements, road records, and the LLC registration showing Catherine's husband as the registered agent." "What are our chances?" She looked at me over her reading glasses. "The law is on our side. The facts are on our side. But courts can be unpredictable, especially when one side has expensive lawyers." She paused. "That said, I think we're gonna win." We filed the motion on a Friday afternoon. The hearing was set for Monday morning. I didn't tell Catherine or the HOA. I just let the legal process work. They'd get served with notice, they'd show up to court, and we'd see what happened. That weekend was the longest of my life. I couldn't focus on anything. Lane came by Saturday to help with some equipment repairs, but I was useless. Ellie drove home from school Sunday afternoon to be there for the hearing. "Dad, we have them," she said, sitting on the porch watching the sunset. "The evidence is solid." "I know, but they have money. They have professional lawyers. They probably deal with this kind of thing all the time. And we have the truth. Sometimes that matters more." I wanted to believe her. I really did. Monday morning, we walked into the county courthouse at 8:30. Grace was already there with 2 boxes of documents on a dolly. Catherine arrived 10 minutes later with two lawyers in expensive suits, the kind that charge $400 an hour and look like they've never lost a case to a farmer. The judge was a woman named Patricia Keating, probably early 70s, gray hair and a tight bun, reading glasses on a chain. She'd been on the bench 30 years. According to Grace, she had zero patience for nonsense, but was scrupulously fair, which meant we couldn't count on sympathy, just facts. The HOA's lawyers went first. They argued the road, while historically public, had been effectively abandoned by the county and was now part of the development's infrastructure. They argued my farming operation constituted a commercial nuisance. They argued the gate was a reasonable security measure supported by the community. It was smooth, professional. They made it sound almost reasonable. I felt my confidence waver. What if the judge believed them? What if effectively abandoned was some legal loophole that trumped everything else? Then Grace stood up. Your Honor, let me address the abandonment argument first. She projected the county maintenance records onto a screen. These show continuous county maintenance of this road from 1976 to present day. Resurfacing in 1994, drainage work in 2006, pothole repairs as recently as last month. That's not abandonment. That's active maintenance of public infrastructure. She walked Judge Keating through every document methodically. The survey, the easement, the maintenance records, the continuous public use. Judge Keating listened without expression, taking notes occasionally. I couldn't read her at all. Then Grace moved to the LLC evidence. Your Honor, I'd like to enter business registration documents for Access Management LLC. She projected the registration onto the screen. The registered agent is Marcus Brennan, husband of Catherine Brennan, the HOA president. The company was formed 6 months ago. The business address is a P.O. box that shares a location with Mrs. Brennan's real estate office. Catherine's lawyers objected. Your Honor, the corporate structure of the management company is irrelevant to the right-of-way question. Judge Keating looked up from her notes. I'll allow it. Continue, Ms. Holloway. Grace pulled up the fee structure from the Access Management website. The company charges $300 per month for commercial access permits. Mr. Garrett's farm is the only commercial operation currently using this road, making him the primary revenue source for a company owned by the HOA president's family. She let that sit for a moment. Your Honor, this isn't about community standards or road maintenance. This is about creating a revenue stream by charging fees for access to public property. Judge Keating wrote something in her notes. When she looked up, her expression was unreadable. Do you have evidence of intent beyond the corporate structure? My heart sank. She was asking for more. The corporate connection wasn't enough. Grace paused. For just a second, I thought we might lose. Then she said, Your Honor, through discovery, we obtained internal HOA communications. I'd like to enter several emails into evidence. Catherine's lawyers stood up immediately. Your Honor, we object. Those communications are privileged internal. The subpoena was valid. Grace cut in. The documents were properly obtained through county records, as the HOA is a registered entity that maintains files with the county clerk. Judge Keating looked at Catherine's lawyers. Were the documents obtained legally? The lead lawyer hesitated just a fraction too long. The legality of the subpoena is questionable. That's not what I asked. Were the documents obtained through legal process? Yes, Your Honor. Then I'll review them. Proceed, Ms. Holloway. Grace projected the first email. It was from Catherine to the HOA board, dated 8 months earlier. Board members, we need to explore revenue opportunities beyond standard dues. The adjacent farm property represents significant commercial traffic that could potentially be monetized. I'm researching gate systems and access control models similar communities have implemented successfully. There was a shift in the courtroom. Subtle but real. The second email was from Marcus Brennan to someone named Jay. Patterson Catherine believes the farm operator will either pay or relocate operations. Either way, we establish precedent for access management. Conservative estimate 40 to 50,000 annually once we expand to other commercial properties in the area. Not 60 to 70,000 like I'd feared reading it earlier, but still damning. Still clear intent. Judge Keating took off her reading glasses and looked directly at Catherine. Her voice was measured, but there was something underneath it. Mrs. Brennan, did you participate in the formation of a private company to charge access fees for a public road? Catherine's lawyers tried to intervene, but Judge Keating held up one hand. I'm asking Mrs. Brennan directly. Catherine stood slowly. Her face was pale, composed, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Your Honor, we were exploring options to manage traffic flow and maintain community standards in accordance with our responsibilities. That's not what I asked. Did you participate in forming a company to charge fees for public road access, yes or no? The courtroom was dead silent. We formed a management company to handle security and access control, yes. For a public road, pause. We believe the road status was uncertain. Judge Keating put her glasses back on and made several notes. When she looked up, her expression was firm but controlled. This court finds that the road in question has been and remains a public right-of-way under Clearbrook County jurisdiction. The county records are unambiguous. The easement agreement is clear. The maintenance history is documented. She looked at Catherine and her lawyers. The gate erected by Clearbrook Meadows Homeowners Association and operated by Access Management LLC is an illegal obstruction of public property. She paused, and I could barely breathe. The respondents are ordered to remove the gate and all associated equipment within 72 hours. If the gate is not removed within that time frame, I will hold the HOA board members in contempt of court, beginning with fines and escalating to potential incarceration if necessary. She looked at me. Mr. Garrett, you have grounds to file a civil suit for damages. I'd encourage you to pursue that. Then back to Catherine's lawyers. I'm also referring this matter to the county district attorney for review of possible fraud charges related to the formation and operation of Access Management LLC. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. For a moment, I just sat there. Ellie grabbed my arm. Lane, sitting behind us, clapped my shoulder. Grace gathered her documents calmly, professionally, but I saw the small smile on her face. We walked out of that courthouse into bright morning sunshine, and I swear the air tasted different. Cleaner. Lighter. That was closer than I expected, I admitted to Grace on the courthouse steps. She nodded. Judge Keating is careful. She needed to see clear intent, not just circumstantial evidence. Those emails made the difference. What happens now? Now we wait 72 hours and see if they comply. If they don't, we go back to court and things get much worse for them. If they do, we file the civil suit for your damages and let the DA handle the criminal investigation. Ellie hugged me right there on the steps. You did it, Dad. We did it, I corrected. The gate came down Wednesday afternoon. Lane actually volunteered to do the work himself. He brought his plasma torch and cutting equipment and dismantled that 10-foot symbol of corporate overreach piece by piece, while I documented everything on my phone. It felt good. Not just the gate coming down, but watching it happen legally, officially, with court authority. No vandalism. No revenge. Just justice working the way it's supposed to. HOA residents started showing up as Lane worked. At first, I tensed up expecting anger, but most of them just looked confused. A woman in her 30s pushing a stroller approached me cautiously. We had no idea, she said. Catherine told us the gate was for security. She said there'd been break-ins and vandalism. There haven't been any break-ins, I said. This was about money. Your HOA president was trying to create a toll road on public property. Her face went from confused to horrified. We're paying her to manage the HOA. We trusted her. I know. You might want to look into what else she's been doing with your money. Turns out, I wasn't her only scheme. Over the next few weeks, residents started comparing notes and discovering inflated maintenance costs, contracts awarded to family-owned companies, and a pattern of financial manipulation. My case had been her most ambitious play yet, but far from her only one. The county DA opened a formal investigation. Catherine resigned from the HOA board within a week, citing health reasons. Marcus quietly dissolved Access Management LLC. Both of them lawyered up hard. As of last I heard, they were negotiating a plea deal to avoid jail time. I'm not sure what the final outcome will be, but at minimum, their reputations in Clearbrook County are destroyed. The HOA ended up settling with me for $15,000, $10,000 for the lost restaurant contracts and business disruption, $5,000 for the additional operating costs from taking alternate routes during those weeks. The gate was up, plus all my legal fees. Grace still insisted on her reduced rate, which was basically just covering her filing costs, but I made sure she got paid properly anyway. But here's what mattered more than the money: the precedent. Grace made sure Judge Keating's ruling was as clear and broad as possible. Any HOA or private entity in Clearbrook County trying to control public roads or easements now had to contend with our case. The local newspaper ran it front page. Regional news did a feature. Suddenly, I was getting calls from people 3 counties over dealing with similar situations. One guy's HOA tried to ban his work trucks from parking on the public street in front of his own house. A woman who owned a bakery was being told she couldn't receive deliveries before 8 a.m., even though her shop was on a county road. An older couple were being fined for letting their son park his landscaping trailer on their own property because it violated aesthetic standards. All of them thought they had no choice. All of them had been told, follow our rules or face consequences. I shared my story with every single one. I gave them Grace's name. I explained how public records and property law could be weapons for regular people, not just corporations and HOAs with fancy lawyers. Some of them fought back. Some of them won. The most satisfying moment came about 2 months after the ruling. I was at the farmer's market on a Saturday morning selling tomatoes and corn when a younger couple approached my stand looking nervous. "Are you the farmer who fought the HOA?" the man asked. "That's me. We just bought a house in Clearbrook Meadows," the woman said. "We heard what happened. The new HOA board showed us all the documentation from your case during our home inspection as part of their new transparency policy." She smiled. "If you hadn't fought back, we might have bought into that same corrupt system." "Thank you." I sold them tomatoes and threw in fresh eggs for free. That night, sitting on my porch with a beer watching sunset over fields my great-grandfather cleared, I thought about how close I'd come to just accepting their rules. How easy it would have been to either pay the $300 a month or give up farming altogether. I didn't fight because I was brave. I fought because I finally understood something: power that hides in the dark dies when you turn on the lights. Catherine's scheme only worked as long as nobody questioned it. Nobody documented it. Nobody forced them to prove their authority in front of a judge. They brought paper contracts, rules, invoices, corporate registrations, thinking it made them legitimate, but paper cuts both ways. The right paper, the older paper, the true paper property surveys, easement agreements, public records, court orders, that's what buried them. Ellie came out and sat next to me, laptop balanced on her knees. She was working on a research paper about property rights and HOA overreach. My case was going to be one of her examples. "Dad, what if you just paid the $300 a month? What if you decided it wasn't worth the fight? I thought about it. Then they would won. And they would done it to the next person and the next. Eventually, that public road would have effectively become private through extortion." I paused. Sometimes you fight because it's the right thing to do. And because someone has to. She smiled. "That's going in my paper. The farm's doing better now than it has in years." The publicity brought new customers who specifically wanted to support a local business that stood up to corporate overreach. My restaurant contracts came back. I picked up 3 new ones. I even hired 2 part-time workers to handle the increased demand. Lane still stops by weekly for beer and conversation. Grace calls occasionally about other cases she's taken on, inspired by our victory. The HOA, under completely new leadership, actually approached me about selling vegetables for their community events. I said yes. I'm not in the grudge business. I'm in the farming business. But every time I drive down that road, the road that's been there longer than any of us, the road that's public and free and open to anyone who needs it, I remember that gate. I remember Catherine's smile and her leather portfolio and her $15,000 attempt to steal my livelihood. And I remember that I didn't break it down with a tractor. I didn't vandalize anything. I didn't scream or threaten or lose control. I used the law. I used facts. I used patience. I let the truth do the work, because real power isn't about who can build the biggest gate or write the most official-sounding letter. Real power is understanding the rules better than the people trying to manipulate them. It's staying calm when everyone expects you to explode. It's collecting evidence instead of throwing punches. They thought I was just a farmer. Easy to intimidate. Easy to outlast. Easy to bury in bureaucracy. They were wrong. And if you're out there right now dealing with an HOA board that thinks they're above the law, dealing with people who use official-looking paperwork to steal what's rightfully yours, document everything, learn your rights. Find your Grace Holloway. Remember that the law is a tool available to everyone, not just people with leather portfolios and corporate letterhead. They built a gate to control me. The law tore it down. Not because I was stronger or richer or meaner, but because I was right and I had better paper.